Hello and welcome to the 107th episode of the Brian Hornback Experience. We're going to talk about an issue that's going to be on the November 8th ballot. We're going to try to cover all four of the constitutional amendment questions, but the one I think that's probably generating the most attention or will generate the most attention is the number one. And so right now I've got Bradley Jackson, who's the president and CEO of the Tennessee Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the Tennessee Manufacturers Association. He's got his bachelor's degree here at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. He's originally from Lawrenceburg. Is Lawrenceburg the home of former Senator Fred Thompson, Brad?
Yes, sir.
All right. Yes. There you go. So he's originally from Lawrenceburg. He's previously was the vice president for government relations and community affairs for the chamber, leading all aspects of their advocacy efforts for 9 years. Prior to joining the Tennessee Chamber, he served in the governor's office and Tennessee Department of Financial Institutions. He's worked and served in the Tennessee General Assembly with the Senate and House Finance, Ways and Means Joint Committee staff. He's on the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Committee of 100, serves on boards of the Tennessee Chamber of Commerce. Anyway, this dude, it's just good that somebody like Brian Hornback Experience can get him. Brad, I appreciate you being on. By the way, he lives in Nashville with his wife, Hope, and their 3 children. Brad, how are you today?
I'm doing great and glad to be on here and appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. So what we talk about, and I'll remind folks when we get toward the end of this thing, you got there's a website, TennesseeRightToWork.com. That's TN Right, RIGHT, the number 2, work.com. There's Twitter, same way, Tennessee Right to Work, TNRIGHT, the number 2, work. And also it can be found on Facebook. But there's a lot of folks, when people start digging into this, obviously former Governor Bill Haslam and Governor Bill Lee are on board. Probably toward the end of this thing, I'll play the little 95 second video they've got on the Facebook. But you got a lot of folks. Bill Hagerty, who was our Economic Community Development Commissioner before becoming U.S. Senator, Marsha Blackburn, Speaker Sexton, Lieutenant Governor McNally. A lot of our key leaders are coming around this thing. We've been a right-to-work state, I guess, forever. As long as I know, but it's a law in Tennessee. But now we're going to try, if everybody votes for one, which you advocate and your committee advocate, it's going to be in the state constitution. Just a real quick, why is that important, Brad?
Well, our framers didn't envision it or didn't want it to be easy to change the Constitution, and that rightfully so. So we've gone through a significant process that really has taken about 4 years, because in 2 separate General Assemblies, and the General Assembly is a 2-year session, we have to pass the constitutional amendment in those bodies. And the first time it only needs 50 plus votes, or half of each chamber, Senate and House, to pass it. But the second time we had to get a 3/4 or 2/3 majority on it, which in the House is, around 70, 71, 72 votes. In the state Senate, it's 25 votes. So it was, there has to be demonstrated that there is significant interest and support from the people's body, the House and the Constitution, for them to approve it going into the Constitution. Now, we get that a lot. Well, it's been on the books in Tennessee since 1947. Why is it so crucial now to embed it in our Constitution? And quite simply, there are major efforts really at the federal level. The United States House has passed the PRO Act. And one thing that the PRO Act did is it would have banned states like Tennessee from having right to work statutes. So there's, it has been noted, President Biden has noted, that was, he was one of his strongest legislative priorities. So we still feel like it is a threat to it being happening. For Tennessee's economic good, right to work has been absolutely fundamental. So we want to enshrine it. And, we take it very seriously. But right to work it's so deep to a worker's individual freedom to have the right to choose whether or not they want to join, a union and pay dues. That's really what this is about, right?
Well, and so there's 3 states that are right to work. Obviously, Tennessee, Florida, and South Dakota. But there's also 3 states that are forced union states. Those are California, Illinois, and New Jersey. Obviously, we know that Tennessee's having a population boom, and some in Knox County say that we have a housing crisis because a lot of people are fleeing California to states like Tennessee. Obviously, Blue Oval's coming down around Jackson, Tennessee, or Memphis. Is one of the reasons we want to do this. I've heard, so I'm going to ask you the question, that the reason we got to do this is because we got Blue Oval coming in, and there's the threat of Ford potentially forcing us to become a union state. I don't know that that's the reason, but I'll ask you the question.
Sure. Well, that's certainly not the case from our end. And looking at it, every employer that comes to Tennessee, some of them are union shops, some of them
Sure.
are not. So we do feel like the most important thing is that a worker have that individual freedom to choose. We prefer certainly a secret ballot election as opposed to card check, but that is each employer's right to choose that. So for us, what it is about is embedding it in our Constitution, because we know that right to work states, they have higher real income growth, they have higher employment growth, they have wages that increase faster, good paying jobs basically in their state. And we have, higher population growth overall. So it's been really the foundation of Tennessee's economic growth and success for our citizens in allowing high quality, good paying jobs in the state. So that's what's really the foundation of what it is for us.
And if we really just compare Tennessee to California, right now the individual tax burden on an individual in Tennessee is less than 1%. It's 0.08%. In California, the individual tax burden is 3.6%. In Illinois, it's 1.9%, and in New Jersey, it's 2.4%. Obviously, there's a reason that folks like Smith and Wesson are coming to Blount County in East Tennessee. Why Amazon is locating over in Blount County and in Knox County and in other parts of the state. Obviously, what Governor Haslam and Governor Lee and the legislature have been doing, certainly we are attracting business here. I guess that's about as easy as it can be said, right, Brian?
Yeah. I look at studies, and I'm looking at one right now that shows the state and local tax burdens per capita as a percentage of total income in the state. Tennessee ranks basically the 3rd best in the United States. Your total burden is about $3,300 a year. You're exactly right. When we look at New York, California, a number of those states, it climbs to, Connecticut is $9,700.
Wow.
That is very significant. And you're exactly right. The legislature here and the leadership in our state, Tennessee's also been noted as one of the best fiscally managed states in the nation. We do not have pension problems. Everything is fully funded. Our roads, we don't float bonds. We build them on a cash basis, so we don't incur a lot of debt there. The recipe that the legislature and our leaders here is really demonstrated that you can have a low tax environment, not tax individuals high. You can provide, adequate government services, and you can have economic growth by having a great business environment and promote individual freedom at the same time and be successful.
And this doesn't keep This doesn't keep. I mean, this does not ban unions from Tennessee, correct?
Absolutely not.
Right.
It just says that, if you are a union shop, you cannot be compelled or forced to join that union to hold your job. You can decide, and you can't be forced to pay dues. And a lot of that is, it's not just on the the union side. This goes for any organization that their employer may try to force them to either join or pay dues for. So, there's a lot of talk about being on the unions, but actually it is focused on any organization. And when we poll and talk to Tennesseans, the message of it being, your right, your freedom to choose, it resonates extremely strong with Tennesseans.
Right. Well, I'm going to play this quick 1 minute and 35 second video. Hold on a second.
For 75 years, Tennessee has been a right-to-work state. That means that no Tennessean can be fired based on their choice to join or not join a union and pay dues. As governors and as business owners, Bill and I both know that our right-to-work law has been a key ingredient in the effort to bring high-wage jobs to Tennessee.
What we're doing right now in Tennessee is working. Right to work is common sense. And with federal efforts to repeal it nationwide, it's time for Tennesseans to speak up. This November, we have a unique opportunity to make right to work a constitutional right here in Tennessee.
This November's ballot will include Amendment 1, which will enshrine right to work in the Tennessee Constitution and protect Tennessee workers' freedom of association.
Voting yes on 1 means that Tennessee workers can work in the environment that they choose, and that Tennessee jobs will continue to be created and our economy will continue to lead the country.
The old guy and the real governor, Governor Lee, both know this. We've had a lot of success recruiting jobs to Tennessee. Great place to live, great place to work. But one of the fundamental reasons is that we're a right-to-work state, and we need to stay that way.
Bill and I want to urge you to vote yes on 1 this November. This amendment will protect the rights of Tennessee workers and help keep our economy growing.
There's not much else to say after that, right, Brad?
Yes, sir. That pretty much puts it out there, yeah.
Well, again, stop. Facebook likes to repeat things. I do appreciate you coming on, and just want to remind folks that there is a website, TennesseeRightToWork.com. That's TNRight2Work.com. Obviously, Facebook, Tennessee Right to Work, and Twitter, Tennessee Right to Work. I'll embed those on the Brian Hornback Experience. I'll put that in the blog post that this podcast will ultimately link up to. And like I've already said, early vote starts October 19th, right? And ends November 3rd, I believe, and then election day is November 8th. So I'll let you. If there's anything else that we need to say about it, I will let you have the last word. And also, anything that your committee needs to get out, obviously, obviously now that you've been on the podcast, anything that I can do to help get that information out, I'm willing to do it. But
we greatly appreciate that. I would add that, one of the worst things that you could do is, to vote for, say, the Governor Bill Lee, and then not vote for the constitutional amendment, because for a constitutional amendment to be successful, there's really 2 things that must happen. First, you have to get more yes votes than no, obviously, but the second is that the number of yes votes, it has to be a majority of the total votes in the gubernatorial election. So that is a really important factor. So, anybody who opposes this, they'd say, oh, don't, just skip it. But when you skip it, it's actually 2 no votes. So it's really important to vote yes on 1. It will be the first opportunity right under the governor's election to vote yes, and then you'll see the rest of your ballot. But it's really fundamental to Tennessee's economic growth. And Brian, we greatly appreciate the opportunity to be on today.
Absolutely, I appreciate you bringing that because I will continue to remind folks. So I didn't realize. So it has to be more yes votes than the total governor's votes in order for vote 1 to pass. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you bringing that up right now, because I'll certainly keep that in mind as I continue to cover not only question 1, but the other 3 that are on there, which, the other 3 seem to be not very controversial. At least I hope they're not very controversial. But
right.
I know
we told people vote yes on all of them. They're all good. Yeah.
Right. But as far as keeping Tennessee the right business climate, not only for companies but also for individuals and for the working people of Tennessee, vote 1 is clearly the way to go.
That's right. Absolutely.
All right, Brad. I appreciate you being on here, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, sir. Have a good one.